there's an element to
And we are live.
I'm gonna finish that. I'm going to finish that thought, and I'll shut up. That whole Pete, while you were gone, they asked.
I know.
Pete asked me about comics, and so here's the thing: is like, okay, if you take even just the word conservative, okay, and words matter. Like if you look at conservatives and not liberals, liberal isn't an appropriate word anymore. It's conservative and progressive. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Conservative. What's the root word? To conserve. That means something's already there. That means tradition and foundation and things that are already there. To progress is what? It's to go towards something. It's leaving something. And in the political sense and in the social sense, it ends up being the desire to move towards something versus the desire to hold on to what we've already had. And that psychology is present throughout society, throughout culture. And when these companies fail to recognize that by being rooted so deeply, or at least having a strong basis in a form of nostalgia, nostalgia is by its nature a conservative thing. Even if there's very liberal people who feel nostalgic feelings and all that stuff, it's still conservative in the fact that it's philosophically a conservation of the past. And when they shit on that, they are doing it at their peril. They may do it and be fine. They may, I don't know. I think that those sales numbers you're talking about directly reflect this conscious decision to throw the past away in a lot of ways, or even openly disrespect it.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And I think, just observationally speaking, I'm not even interjecting my personal opinion into any of it. Sometimes I think things that people do that shake things up, like I dug the crap out of it when they made a big, well, I didn't like that they made a big deal out of it because it's actually happened before. But the new when Falcon became Captain America.
Oh yeah.
It looked great. I thought it was cool. There were some things they did with it that I was kind of like, you guys getting preachy with this, but it looks good. So, it's like I'm not really. I don't have a horse in the race to even care. But observationally speaking, it's like, oh, you guys are playing with fire. You're really playing with fire for your business, and you're doing it under the assumption. And it's funny because there's an assumption that people at both ends of the spectrum sometimes make about certain businesses that are past a certain size, is that they're too big to fail. And I think Marvel and DC have people running them who at times feel like they're actually too big to fail. Like, oh, well, they've always been here, so they're always going to be here, so we can use them to do X, Y, or Z with. It's like, no, buddy, there's nothing too big to fail.
I think Marvel's probably going to lose one of its legs. Yeah. I think it's going to fall on its knees pretty soon. At least comic book division. Movies, they still got some way to go. But I think Miss Marvel's not going to be as great as they think it's going to be.
Well, if you look at Marvel's movies, Marvel's movies are actually pretty damn conservative in that philosophical sense, because they preserve the characters. They conserve what was there.
I think they're preserving characters until Avengers, and then after Avengers is done, it's going to be changing.
Yeah,
I think when Cap goes, it's going to go.
Yeah, they're going to retcon the whole thing after Avengers 4 and morph it into whatever it is they want to do with it next. And I think if we look at some of the different contracts that are talked about and the hiring and things that's coming, you could see where it's headed. It doesn't take a whole lot to figure that out. Now, whether it works or not, we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, if they keep making, and it's funny because this is where rubber's going to hit the road, and all the stuff people like me have been saying for years is going to be a thing. And like folks like me have been saying, look, I don't give a shit what your agenda is. I don't give a shit what you think about any of it. I don't care. Make good stories. Entertain me, motherfucker.
Yeah. So that's why personally I'm on board with Comicsgate, because like I got tired of being preached at the whole time. Like, and my customers got tired of it. I was like, dude, You know, we need to change. You know, so
on
that's
a
why I'm on board.
Hold on a second. On a live stream.
Sorry, Pete. As soon as we...
I am not in control of this conversation.
Peter agrees with everything being said here.
We love you, Pete.
Pete endorses it all. Yeah.
Oh my god. The most controversial episode of Studio Synergy today.
Of course, because I showed up.
You should have sent me an invite when I was taking a leak.
Hey, I just answered a question.
Yep.
Hey, Pete, you're the one who turned it on while this was going on. You could have waited.
I know. I asked for it.
Oh man!
If there is one good thing that Comicsgate has done, we're all talking about shit.
It's true. Very true.
And that's a good, to me. You know, that's actually a really good thing. There's a lot of subjects getting talked about and getting actually kind of batted around, and that's a good thing. So, you know, which for me rather arrogantly goes back to my more speech not less stance on pretty much everything. It's like, oh look, we're all talking about things now. Yay, more speech.
Well, whether I personally want to talk about it or not, somewhere soon down the line, I mean, it's already been talked about online that I'll be working on a story for Detective Dead. I'm not sure if Critius broke the news.
Yeah, we talked about John Malin's stream. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we did last night. Yeah, so you'll be doing
talking about me.
Bill versus Detective Dead. So
yeah.
So Doug DeNaples' book and Critius's, yeah. So
cool. So yeah, I mean that would be just a short story, but I'm sure like people say, "What's Peter's stance?" My stance is has comics.
Yeah. My buddy's Tyler, the writer for my book, is he has his own podcast. He has a show called Drawn Talk, and he takes a very neutral stance because he just wants to talk about the process and things like that. So he's not trying to piss off either side. I don't think anybody is. I was just curious on what everybody thought about it here before we started, and you stepped away, and
Pete, you left the room, and dude started trouble. What are we doing, man?
Well, first of all, Tyler, I connected with him, and I'll be on his show. I want to say Monday or Tuesday.
Oh, Monday.
Monday,
cool.
Monday, I think. I forget the exact time. Anyway, yeah, so I'll be talking with him. Yeah, I checked out one of his recent streams and seems very cool.
Yeah, he's a cool dude.
Yeah. So, yeah, and for those that don't know, I'm going to be doing 100 days of creative interviews, which will be starting Tuesday evening if all goes well. Was going to previously start it, but my guest Thomas Tenney was in the middle of a storm and his internet was going in and out. So we're going to reconnect on Tuesday and hopefully won't have that problem again. But that, my objective with the 100 interviews is that after I'm done with all 100 interviews, I'm going to actually have a professional editor, maybe a couple, going through them and pick them apart and sort of do a short video series, just, focused on like the creative mind and creative process and everything in between. But I'm still doing my 100 days of making Has comics, even though I'm hitting bumps everywhere along the line.
Not always the way, man. I mean, isn't it though?
Yeah,
it totally is. So right now I'm inking my comic retro. So yeah, for my 100 days of Has Comics, inking, well, working on retro, working on Blood Rights. Maybe it's somewhere down the line I'll talk about some other things. But yeah, I hope before this year is out. Yeah, as long as my luck starts going my way, I'll definitely be diving above and beyond what I've been doing. So let's just do some quick intros here, since we we showed up mid conversation.
Yeah.
So here is Brad. Brad, say hello, introduce yourself, and give us a couple links.
Sure. My name is Brad. I'm a local comic book store, former manager, but now just an employee over there. But I'm also an artist. I illustrate and draw Handyman, which will be coming out at the beginning of the year. We took it down and retooled it. Want to finish the book, and then we're going to bring it back and get it funded again. So you can get a hold of me at Pencil for Life on Twitter, also on YouTube as well. And on every Sunday or Monday, I'll be posting a new video on something comics related. Last time I was pissing off Mags Visaggio. Not, but that's my own personal opinion. And this time I'm actually going to be doing how a comic book shop actually orders comics and how difficult it is for a shop to get it right sometimes for what we need for the shelf. So
that's very cool.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people definitely want to check that out, especially comic makers, creators.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. Yeah.
What's that, Marshall?
I said it's like, why your pull list is all messed up.
Hey, I try.
It would be good to know
every time. Part of
it'll be good to know though.
Part of it's Diamond. Oh my god.
Oh, I know Diamond's crazy.
Just briefly, what is it? Amazing Studios. Who's the head of that? Or Amazing Comics? Either or is looking to become a distributor.
Oh,
really?
Something called Comic Book District. There's a Facebook page for that.
Really?
I just looked at it briefly. It looked like a distributor for their books, so I'm not sure.
Even if they started for their books, they moved to.
Yeah. I'm not sure how deep it is yet, or how much they've been talking to other people or what. But yeah, for some sort of future conversation, I would love to have her on. Molly or
Molly Schofield, yeah.
Molly Schofield. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, comic industry needs more distributors and better distributors. So that's definitely something. But intros. Okay, so next we have the lovable Wes.
Yo.
Hey.
Yo. What's up? Hey guys. So let's see. Good God, introductions. I hate doing introductions. I'd rather just jump into stuff. So I'm Les Garner. I have a let's see, my day job is actually what you see me doing on screen right now. I do 3D modeling, animation, lots of character design, and then make products and stuff for the online 3D content market. And I also do a book called Apocalypse Girl, which was previously published by Insane Comics, who are now defunct at no fault of my own. Damn it. They were good people. Really good people. I like them. But anyway, they have closed shop, and when they did, actually a good opportunity opened up for me to move my book to Source Point Press. And this is the first time I've said anything publicly about that. So I know a lot of folks who bought the issues of Apocalypse Girl that did make their way out through Insane Comics were very upset when Insane went away. And if any of you guys are listening, now you know what's coming. So I've been a while in saying anything about that, trying to kind of play my cards close to my chest for a few reasons on it, but now I can talk about it. Contracts are signed, and Apocalypse Girl has a new home at Source Point. So
excellent. Did Bob announce it yet?
Bob,
the head of Source Point.
guy on the top at Source Point is Travis McIntyre.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So did Travis announce it?
He hasn't announced it yet, but everything is signed, and it's okay for me to talk about it. So,
okay. I was just wondering.
Yep.
Cool. So, any links?
Nothing yet. It's good. The way it's going to work, we're going to do an official relaunch of the series with new covers, all that kind of stuff, and which is kind of great because it actually buys me a few more months' time to finish up the first series. Which
right.
You know, it was at the first 3 issues made it out with Insane, and so issue 4 is done. So I've got 2 issues left to do. They're not going to release until spring of next year, and so we're doing new cover art for everything, and the cover for number 1 is being done by Billy Tucci.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, never heard of Billy. No. Nobody knows who that. What was it?
She.
Maybe they know Jerry Tucci.
Yeah, Billy Tucci, creator of She, used to do Crusade comics.
Yeah, he's had some great runs on like Sergeant Rock and did covers for like Harley Quinn, stuff like that. And Billy is incredible. And an incredible guy too. I love that guy, and I've gotten to do some stuff with him a little here and there, and blah blah blah. So anyway, he's doing the cover for a new cover for Apocalypse Girl number 1, and I'm excited about that.
Cool.
So
Billy's an old friend of mine.
Oh, I love Billy, dude. I love that little guy, man. He is a hoot. He is so damn funny. Good God, he's funny. Him and is it Bo Smith that he does the shin kicking thing with? I can't remember. If you follow him on Facebook, every once in a while, there's like a show or 2 out of the year that him, and I want to say it's Bo Smith, but I'm probably wrong, where they literally will step out and kick each other in the shins to see who can get the biggest bruise to post online.
It sounds like Bo.
That's Billy, man. I'm like, dude, you are just balls to the wall, aren't you? Like all the time, and I love it.
Bo is Winona Earp, which is that's on Netflix. Yeah, that's on Netflix.
Yeah.
He's the creator of that, and if you want to go check it out, go to Netflix and look it up. But Billy, like not many know, but she's like first annual. I inked a couple of pages of that over Billy.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
That was was it that, or was it a She Razor crossover book? I forget now. But
Razor, man.
Yeah, there's
that stuff.
That I used, I inked a couple of issues of Razor, and Everett or Billy or I forget who said, "Oh, we need to get this done and out, and can you help me?" And so I chipped in. Yeah, Everett has a movie in production for Razor right now. With I think it's Rob Thomas is producing it or directing it or both.
Yeah, it's the guy from the Fast and the Furious is producing it. I know that.
Yeah. So hopefully that will be done well, and
that would be cool because Everett's a cool guy, man. He does some neat stuff.
Yeah, he's sort of
he's
Mr. Hollywood now. Yeah, he's a character.
He's a character, that's for sure.
Yeah. And yeah, I think he's working on a new Razor or something or another, and he's always got 100 things going on.
Yeah.
But I was saying, like, links for where people can find you.
Oh, well, right now the best thing to do is just go into Facebook and type Apocalypse Girl. You'll find the page. You'll come straight to me that way. That's where all the information and stuff will be shared and posted over time and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of things kind of changing at the moment. So it's still kind of nebulous, but yeah,
it's a work in progress.
Yeah, it's a word. Yeah, there's some moving parts to the changes and things going on. So we'll see, but updates and things will start coming out probably the next couple of weeks, if not next month. So
I thought Bob Saley,
Bob Hickey
was Source Point Blank.
You know
what I mean?
I mean, dude may own it. I don't know. I don't even know the name. All I know is that it's Travis McIntyre is the guy who I talked to, who wrote up contracts and everything is with him.
Maybe it's multiple people.
It probably is, because SourcePoint is really building their they're building their brand really well and doing
they're doing well. They're doing the I'm forgetting his name now. The awards, the Ringo Awards, right?
I have no idea.
I think they're sponsoring or hosting the Ringo Awards. You could look it up, people. Do I have to look up everything?
Oh, ZBrush, that's what you're using? That's cool.
Yeah, that's where I do all my 3D sculpting stuff.
Cool. Well, let's just jump over to the other person, and we got Marshall in the chat. Hey, Marshall.
Hey, what's up, man?
Stuff. So, yeah, say hi and
hello. My stuff is you can find all my stuff at donkeyjobprojects.com. And I make comics and kind of more on an indie level so far, and trying to work hard to become more professional with it and all that. And I'm making a new, like, kind of short comic story every month right now. So that's what I'm working on right now.
For your patrons, what is it? Is it under your name or your studio name?
Yeah, Donkey Job Projects is so it's patreon.com/Donkey Job Projects. I am actually contemplating making a little bit of a change so that it's kind of opened up for everybody. So we'll see how that progresses. But and then also, if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm Marshall Lee _DJP. And same on Instagram.
Very, very cool.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, Marshall, this is Brad. Les, I think.
No, I think this is the first time I'm meeting both of you.
Oh.
Good to meet you guys.
Awesome.
¿Qué pasa, señor?
Nice to meet you, Brad.
Hello. And Brad, some people might know Brad from did a couple of hangouts with that new guy. What's his name? Jeff Lafferty.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
Some mashup art challenge that he had us do, and that was loads of fun. And so some people might know Brad from there.
Yeah, that looks fun. I want to join in one day.
Yeah. You know how Jeff is. He does things on his own schedule. So we might do it next week.
Yeah, he said probably. I think most likely next week. So
okay,
we should probably reach out to him and see if it's going to be a weekly thing or not. But yeah, probably just let Jeff be Jeff.
Yeah, I think Jeff avoids doing regular things.
Mm-hmm.
Work takes priority and everything else.
Totally understand. Yep.
Yeah,
I understand that all too well.
Just a little bit. Oh. Yeah, I gotta.
So when you work on art?
I'll be doing a little bit of that today. Not this morning, but and then I gotta work at the shop tonight. We're having another big tournament for Pokemon tonight. So Fridays and Saturday nights are not my draw nights. So yeah.
Pokemon tournament.
I know, right? That's how a local local comic shop has to stay in businesses. Diversify into other areas, otherwise you'll just lose money your ass on comics the whole time.
And that's
so who goes to Pokemon tournaments? Like young kids?
Actually, no. It's mostly a bunch of either probably early 20s, or late teens, early 20s, and some older guys, collectors.
Cool.
When Pokemon Go came out, it brought a resurgence, like a nostalgia feel back, and it sparked the game right back up. So.
I have kids who are all like 18 to 21 years old, and they never stopped playing Pokemon.
Yeah,
and they still play it. And like my 21-year-old son, like no joke, the bedrock of his longest relationship with a girl was they were together for like 3 freaking years because they played Pokemon together all the time.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm like, it's really, really weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a freaking comic book nerd, and I'm looking at something going, wow, man, you guys y'all are weird.
The artwork, though, is pretty cool for some of those designs for the characters and stuff, and with the artwork that they do for the cards, it's crazy. A lot of it's really beautiful. So,
we had for a little bit, we had a comic shop in my small town in Kentucky, but they were doing, I guess it was mostly Magic the Gathering tournaments and whatnot.
Yeah, we do that too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They closed, but I heard they're going to reopen and just as a, I guess, game shop kind of thing.
I mean, are they doing just cards? Because that's dangerous. You don't want to do that.
They might be, because I know the owner. I mean, he hosted tournaments like every week, multiple times a week. And that's what he's into, and I know there's a lot of kids that go there for that in town. So maybe because I think that's where 90% of his business came from.
Yeah, so when I posted the numbers up on Twitter for my shop, you can see the sales, like the proportion of sales from my store, because I left 2018 up there, and you could see like 48% of my business is TCGs. So it's a big market. It's a huge market. The problem is that TCGs go up and down quite a bit. Like when customers are unhappy with Magic the Gathering or with Pokemon, so they have a bad set or something like that. If you're too heavily invested in it, you're going to lose your shirt. So
TCG is what exactly?
Trading card games.
Oh, okay. Don't use lingo.
Sorry, brother. Here's the biz. You just kind of do it. But yeah,
I mean, growing up with my friends back in the day, we just played with rocks and stuff. I don't know any of this.
Yeah, I would say if you're going to go into TCGs and something like that, I would do probably board games as well.
We had Monopoly.
I'm talking the other ones like Catan, Captain Sonar, stuff like that. Smash Up. Those are they all sell really well and consistently. So yeah.
I don't know any of that.
Oh man, it's so funny for me, man. Since I've recently moved back to not my hometown, but like one town over. I'm in Moorhead, Kentucky now, and I went to college here for a year back in like a long time ago, 25 years ago, and it's so strange. You're thinking about the gaming stuff because like when I was here. We started a little thing here called the MSU Gamers Guild. That was just a group of us, a way for us to organize to play mostly Dungeons and Dragons, and then and this is pre Magic the Gathering, so I'm really show how old, what an old fart I am. But it was for us to organize to play Dungeons and Dragons, and then like Vampire the Masquerade, and we played Shadowrun, GURPS, all kinds of role-playing games and stuff back then. And then, of course, Magic the Gathering came along, and that became like a big thing for everybody. I never really got into it, but, it's like I had friends who were literally dropping out of college and just doing nothing but, literally doing nothing but their way through like life with Magic the Gathering. And the scary part is a lot of the guys who did that still do. Like they are actually doing well. Like, it's like yeah, that medical degree I was going for. Yeah, fuck that. I'm gonna deal trading cards, and they're rocking.
Yeah, so some of those cards are worth major money. The older ones now.
Oh, dude.
So yeah.
A good friend of mine from back then, at one point, I think he had 5 Black Lotuses.
Nice.
And I remember. He was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna sell these Black Lotuses." I'm like, "You're literally the nardiest fucking nard I've ever seen." I'm like, wow. He was like, "You are so you've out-dorked me, man. I have been out-dorked so hard. Like I almost feel like a jock. I'm just like, damn, man."
In comparison, yeah.
It's like, jeez. But yeah, anyway, point being, like there used to be, back when I started in comics, there was a comic shop here in town called White Crow. That was this great comic shop. Loved the place, loved the guy who owned it, and all that kind of stuff. And it traded hands for a few years after he died, and just everything. Yeah, and it eventually died. And now the closest thing to it is a place in town that just all they do, like, the place, you look inside and there's some Magic cards on the wall and there's tables, and that's it. All they do is they'll do stuff other than Magic the Gathering, but like their whole business model is built around holding Magic the Gathering tournaments, and then the guys have apparently a really solid Magic the Gathering business that they do online, like with eBay and stuff. And that's it.
Yeah. So online business is great for TCG stores, like it'll keep the income coming in, even when there's a downturn in your local players. So,
I am interested in, if my friend, the former comic store owner, opens up just a game shop, I am interested in maybe doing some prints of the Magic the Gathering characters and whatnot.
Because they got a set of rotation now of their planeswalkers or whatever that is their main characters now for all of their stuff. So, and they actually
believe that Magic the Gathering turned into something that actually has like a consistent lore to it.
Yeah. And in October, at the end of the month here, they have Chandra, one of their main characters, is having her first book come out. So. Yeah, I think who was doing it? IDW is doing it, which kind of says a lot about IDW, but
in a good way.
No, they make some really poor choices. I mean, yeah. Well, they started out $7 million in debt for the first quarter. Now they're $22 million in debt for the second quarter.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So, how do you even function like that?
I have no clue.
Sounds like
it's just a matter of time before it goes under. Yeah. So.
Sounds like my bank account. Anyway.
Well, I wonder if they have like built a business model on the idea that they'll eventually build some kind of IP that will right the ship.
Well, here's the thing: most of that debt is for licensing.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a mistake.
Yeah, and well, Hasbro, I think, owns IDW. I think, or partners with them.
Huh.
And because Hasbro also owns Wizards of the Coast, and they own,
Didn't they want to own Marvel at one point? Was it Hasbro, or just like partner up with?
I think they really want to partner with them, or tried to buy them out in the '90s when Marvel was having money problems,
something like that.
Yeah.
So, but who knows what's happening behind the scenes? IDW can have a clear plan of where they're going and what's tied in with them.
Well, if they've got a parent company like that, then there's a good chance that the losses at IDW are actually being used as a tax write-off by the parent company.
Most likely, yeah.
And in turn, the parent company is probably looking at IDW as a means of resources in other areas that get paid for out of other endeavors. So it's funny because companies like that inside comics, when you compare them to indie comics companies like Insane Comics, who I used to be with, or SourcePoint, who I'm with now, it's like you can't really make the comparisons, and it actually makes it incredibly difficult to gauge where the business really is at. It's man, that's tough. It's really, really tough.
Wait, you were with Insane Comics? They went under, right?
Yeah, Insane. Yeah,
that's where Tyler was getting his stuff printed through.
Yeah, in Insane, James Munch. He just decided to close up shop recently, and he posted a bunch. He's been posting stuff recently about he's like, look, this is why indie comics publishers go out of business. He's like, and a lot of it's some really damning stuff about Diamond, which we've all known for 30 years, but it's like. Yeah, I can't. I couldn't fault him for it. I mean,
no, but I remember it came on quite sudden though, because Tyler wasn't expecting it. All of a sudden, he's kind of saying, "Hey,
I know
we're out of business."
I know, like, there's a lot of small publishers and even individuals who want to put all their books on Diamond. It's like because it's such prestige, and they get into all the comic stores and whatnot. I might look into that at some point, but I'm not really interested in going that route.
Well, and Insane Comics didn't go that route. They didn't do Diamond.
So what's their problem with them?
Well, they were trying to get in.
They wanted to get in. They tried repeatedly to get in, and Diamond just wouldn't even give them the time of day.
Yeah.
But they worked the convention circuit quite a bit. They did a lot of stuff with it. But there's reasons I think that they didn't turn out that they didn't end up as solvent as they could have been. And I don't want to go too far into that because James is a really good guy, and all that kind of stuff goes. I don't want to step on anybody's toes with that kind of shit. But
you don't have to
throw him under the bus.
I'm not. I'm not 25 anymore. 25 is the age where you're throwing people on the bus. 45 is when you're looking for buses to get your ass on.
Which one can I run to real quick and grab a hold of?
Like, wait for me. I'm tired of walking, guys.
These can't take it.
Yeah. No shit. Yeah. But
so what did you publish? What, like one the first book through that, or was there more? Or would you
the first 3 issues of Apocalypse Girl came out with Insane.
Okay, sweet.
And I did a handful of conventions with them. Did C2E2 with them this year, and C2E2, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and another one. I don't even freaking remember at this point because it was such a blur, and probably was a financial loss. But
what would you say, like, as far as like, because to me, like when I'm looking at publishers and stuff, sometimes I'm kind of like, okay, well, you know, I can do most of this stuff myself. Can they do anything to actually help me further than I can help myself? Did you see some benefit from working with them, or?
Yeah, I did. I did. Well, and you know, the caveat to that for me too is that I also do. You know, I have a small studio where I do you know, 3D modeling and animation and all this other stuff too. So it's like the number of irons I can afford the time to have in the fire is like no.
Yeah.
So you know, there's just a logistical factor for me of, okay, if I want to do a comic, I'm not going to publish it. I'm just not. I've toyed with the idea before, and I may come back and toy with it again at some point. But you know, it's like doing Kickstarters and all that kind of stuff, and running mailing lists for things and all that kind of stuff. It's like, man, I've already got more than enough than I can handle, and I am very comfortable in admitting it. So, you know, so yeah, it was helpful for me because I think if I didn't have a publisher, I wouldn't have gotten the book out. And getting it out got a little bit of track record under it, which it did really well. It was one of the better selling books at Insane. And so then that, you know, it's kind of like this. It's like I really like SourcePoint. They've got, in my opinion, a much better, I call it, ground game than Insane had. They do a ton more conventions. They have a lot of books. They just have a lot, and they've got a great presence, and they set up in really good places at the shows. I know a lot of their sales are at the shows, and they move enough books that they're actually making a profit. So in my mind, I'm like, that's beautiful. Now, all that to say, you know, they're a better situation than what I had with Insane, but getting with Insane Comics got me in a position that when Insane Comics went under, I was able to be on SourcePoint's radar.
Nice.
Right.
And that opened the door to a better situation. And
Yeah.
I think that there's that, you know, for folks coming up in comics, you know, there's a lot of different routes. I mean, there's the you know, there's a saying that I picked up from martial arts is that the you know, there's many paths up the mountain, but the view is the same from the top. So, you know, there's how you get there, dude. Not only does it not matter, I think, in fact, the more people making as many paths to the top as possible is, you know, just the better. So,
Yeah,
you know, it's like you know, all these guys, all you dudes who are doing like Kickstarters and self-publishing and stuff and building that part of the comic book world and building those paths, man, you guys have my respect and many times over. Because I just don't have the time or energy right now to even look into that stuff a whole lot. But
well, it's a good point because it is like a ton of work, and like I'm just kind of same way. Like, I mean, I'm gonna be 40 this in February. You know, I'm getting there, and and you know, it's the same thing. Like, I only have time to do so much, and you know, so I'm actually been looking into publishing with an actual publisher more lately because of that. And the thing is too is as far as like publishing it on your own, that will always be there. So it's like if you for some reason can't do whatever you wanted to do with the publisher, you can always go back to, you know, self-publishing.
You know, something else I don't think that I don't hear talked about a whole lot that just brought to mind, and I'll pop this off real quick, is that guys doing self-publishing like that, and that whole new frontier that's opened up, also creates an interesting dynamic with at least smaller, well, even larger publishers. I mean, you got, you know, Ethan Van Sciver, you know, there you go. I mean, he's a big dog on the scene who's able to go off and just rock it with crowdfunding. Yeah, with crowdfunding Cyberfrog, you know. And the thing is, it's like, you know, so now if Marvel or DC wanted to go to him and said, Ethan, we'd really like to have you back, he could be like, well, now I've proven I have this much brand equity in my name based on this. What do you got to offer me? You know, I mean, like, Like there's something very real to be said. And you don't have to be his level to do that. Like if you're a small guy and you manage to succeed with it, even to a little bit, the numbers from that can get you on the radar of a publisher, and then those same numbers can get you good negotiation with that publisher. And then if that publisher turns into an ass, you've always got it to go back to. Yep. So it's really cool, man. I love how empowering that stuff is for folks.
Plus, he's making way more. He's making much more money on doing it himself than he is with the publisher, because the publisher will take their own cut or whatever. When he was working at DC, he was talking about what he was getting paid and stuff like that. It was in some videos before, and it's nowhere near what he makes on Cyberfrog.
Isn't that crazy?
Well, it's because publishers have all their overhead that they got to cover. Especially if you're not the artist. You have to hire an artist, hire an inker like Peter, or a letterer and something like that. Your costs will go way up.
In defense of Mullen DC, it's like they do all the work. I mean, pretty much you benefit from even before day one, because they'll put your name out there, and they take care of all the behind the scenes work. All if
Plus
you go to a convention, they'll have you. Yeah, they'll have you at a table. If it's like it's not a bad thing to work for them. But
no, it's not. No.
But if you got your own book, your own creation, there's tons of benefits to that. I mean, I wouldn't be conceiving of being a small publisher if there wasn't benefit to it. But it is a lot of work. I mean, I'm barely scratching the surface, and it's like I got no time. What am I doing? I got no time. I'm getting none of that.
Yeah, there's pros and cons to everything, in life, But he had a big name already at DC. He was an exclusive artist. He let him out of his contract. He was there for like 20 plus years. So he already had that long. Yeah. And then he was like, I'm going to do this on my own. And so he went on his own, and dude, he's raking in the dough right now because of it. So it would take him a few years just alone to make that at DC. So he did one go.
He did do Cyberfrog before. I mean, there was awareness of it even before, Finish with art.
No, I was just saying he
did. Yeah. But now, now he brought in a bundle, and if he puts it to the book and puts it to promotion or whatever, getting it out there, and
I think it'll do well. Well, it might do well just on controversy alone, which is funny because it's not a controversial book at all.
Well, frogs are very controversial.
What's that?
Frogs are very controversial.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Okay, I don't have my old computer. I'm using a newer computer that isn't as powerful. I don't have the chat open, but we've had a gang of people watching. If any of you want to mention if anybody's commenting or whatever, you can just.
There's actually people watching. Oh my god!
Yeah, I know that's unusual for you, Wes. But,
yeah, it's all good. See, it looks like Ronnie's in the chat. Samurai.
Hey.
OX? Samurai Ox? Yeah. Mario somebody?
Yep.
I don't know how to pronounce his name. Yeah. Jesse Miller.
Everybody.
Where do I see the chat at? I'm like looking here in the group chat, and it just is like listing who's joined.
If you look on the actual YouTube page where it's
you have to go to the YouTube page.
Yeah.
Then you can pop the chat out. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. That's why I don't want to stress my computer and open up another window. And
what's the YouTube page? What is
Peter Palmieri.
Palmieri.
Sorry, man. I'm not used to Italian names out here in Utah, man. We don't have a lot of Italian names out here. So
live now. Now I see you. And it. Oh, and it's doubling audio.
You gotta mute. Yeah, you gotta mute that thing.
Yay!
Anyways, guys, I'm probably gonna go. It's been fun to hang out with you today.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, dude.
Thanks
But I was actually up to catch you for a little bit. Yeah, so
nice
good to meet you two guys. Yeah, so
good too.
Yeah, hopefully we can hang out some other time. Something else, you can add me up on Twitter or whatever, and we'll hook up later. So
sounds good.
Absolutely
cool. All right, guys, take care.
Take care, man. Yep. Pencil for Life. That's his Twitter name, YouTube name.
I just went and subscribed and all of that. So.
Cool. Yeah, I'm just actually this is like the first new critter sculpt I've done, and no, I did a product line last week. It's alien creatures. This is the first new real monster thing, though, that I've gotten to do in a while. I'm just kind of sitting around messing with this at the moment.
So you're just playing around. This isn't for like a specific job or anything?
No, this is really just kind of letting my brain go nuts on, stretching out human form, doing something monstrous with it. And then, and if it turns into something, then I'll probably turn it into a product for the 3D content market.
Nice. I'm actually really curious about like what you do with all that. So do you work freelance, or do you work with a company specifically, or?
Yes.
All right. So like most artists.
I've had my studio, my little independent little studio. Kind of like, I say studio, I mean, right now it's just me, but sometimes it grows and sometimes it shrinks. And because I've done like project management for companies, and done like production stuff for like some animated stuff and some film stuff and things like that. And so whenever necessary, I can scale up or scale down. Most of the time, the foundation of my business is this 3D content world that's based around a piece of software called DAZ Studio, and from DAZ 3D. And it's I mean, it really like here's the actual software right here, and they have like human figures and stuff that you can load into it. And I build original figures for things too. And then sometimes a lot of times though, we'll take a human figure and I'll send it over to ZBrush and just sculpt the living snot out of it and make a morph out of that, and then do things with it. It's more complicated than it's like, oh, I'm just going to sculpt this out and send it back over. Yeah, it's way more complicated than that. But it's like that's the headline of what you do, and then you get all the stuff inside it. Like this will probably end up being something that people who use DAZ Studio could buy from DAZ, and like DAZ will broker these things for people. So I've been a brokered artist with them for a few years, and then I also do contract work for them on a pretty regular basis. And then there's other software out there similar to this that I also contract for those companies. Then through that, I ended up getting some work here and there in games. It's just it's weird, man. It's its own kind of strange little world.
If you had to say,
for all that. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Answer, Marshall.
I actually couldn't hear either of you.
Okay.
I was just saying, how's the market for all that?
It's funny. It's like I balance my income between doing contract stuff and the sales. Sometimes my product sales vastly dwarf my contract work revenues. Like sometimes it's really kind of crazy. I mean, there's a good sized market of people out there using the software. I think Daz, last numbers I got from them was like their software right now is being downloaded an average of 1,000 times a day. So, you know, it's like, even if that were just people repeatedly downloading it and you broke it down, you know, and added some other metrics to it, you're still talking at least a couple hundred users a day coming up, you know, onto the software. And that's potential new customers for buying my designs and the art and stuff that goes into it. And then they take it and use it to make their own renders and sometimes animations and things. And they'll, you know, and they use it for art. Some people use it for reference for art. It's funny, actually, there was an issue of Batman number, it was 618, that the artwork inside, I want to say the artwork inside was done by Brian Haberland, but I'm not entirely sure. But I know Brian, I've ended up working on some comic projects with Brian because of my 3D stuff. And like Batman 618 was really weird for me because I went to the comic shop and I'm like, oh, let's see what's going on, the new Batman. And I pick it up and I flip through, and there's my models being used all over the place. There was like it opened with a mock funeral for the Joker, and his pallbearers were these dwarven clowns. And I actually have a whole line of products called Cirque du Macabre that it was my clowns. They were using my clowns for the Joker's pallbearers. They made some little changes to them, people usually do, and things like that. And that was super cool, even though I didn't get any credit for it. But the you know, that's also the downside of this stuff, is that's kind of like 3-dimensional clip art. Is that people can buy it and use it in their own artwork and their own renders and all that stuff. And you know, it's whatever they render, whatever 2-dimensional images they create, that's theirs. You know, right. But this, you know, this stuff has paid my bills for going on 20 years now. So yeah, it's you know, it's like there are little things about it that I don't like. I wish I had a little more, you know, could retain a little better ownership over some things. Although there's some things I do retain quite a bit of ownership over. But you know, but it's kind of awesome to be able to just, you know, do all this like basically concepting and stuff, and then, you know, set it up and do all the goofy crap that I do with it, put it out there and make a living with it. So
what's the learning curve like for this? Like, what do you have to know to?
I am absolutely the wrong guy to ask that question to, because I've been doing 3D for, good God, man, since 93, 94. Like since it was first a thing that you could do somewhere other than ILM. So like my concept of the learning curve on it is like, oh, this is really easy because I've been doing it so long I don't even think about it anymore. But I've taught people, and I see people sometimes, you know, struggling with certain things in it. So I would say that the learning curve is, there's 2 learning curves. There's 2, maybe 3 if you really want to break it down. I'd say there's definitely 3. The first learning curve is hardware. You've got to be on top of your computer, because this stuff is going to drive a computer into the dirt fast. I mean, it's some of the most processing intensive activities that computers do nowadays. I saw an article recently was talking about how visual design is driving, like art is now driving technology faster than literally anything else. Our desire for art and stories and the ability to realistically do, you know, fantastical stuff is driving technology, and that's kind of cool. That also means that as an artist, you got to really get on top of it. So that's the first learning curve. The second learning curve is the software itself. The software is always changing, and I've actually taught this stuff. I taught for a couple of years for a client. They had me, it was a client it was a brokerage who sells this kind of content, and they are actually paying me to do a weekly seminar to improve the skills of their artists. And I did that for right at 2 years. and I actually learned a lot just by teaching it. And the software itself is always changing. So it's like when you jump in, you jump into, if you were to jump into it right now, there's going to be a big learning curve, and then as soon as you get around that curve, it's going to be like, oh yeah, now we're turning here. So
Yeah.
there's a learning curve, and then there's a learning roller coaster, and that's what that is. So that's something that can be really daunting to a lot of people. But if you don't mind, if you're kind of a little OCD about some crap and you want to like stay on top of stuff all the time and you dig that sort of thing, then that's not a big deal. The third, and to me, the hardest learning curve is just art. Like if you're gonna like somebody who wants to do this stuff and actually really do it and try to make a career out of it, or incorporate it into an existing art career. Like if you're in comics but you want to do something like this on the side as another revenue stream, you got to have solid art chops. There's just no way around it. I've seen people get into this stuff who like learn the software and do some stuff, and maybe make a few products and things that sell all right, and they have these flukes, and then they start to depend on it and all that stuff, and then when they can't reproduce what they lucked into, it goes south on them, and it's like, yeah, that's where skill comes in. Okay, it's like talent and imagination are great to a point. Skill is the point where you can repeat it. So. Yeah. And that's a whole, that's where, like, to me, there's art for the sake of art, but then there's the study of art, and you have to study. You have to study all the time. So, and that's really the thing that I actually enjoy that part of it, and I love how like that's one of the things that unifies it for me back into the other stuff that I do, like with comics and things. So, yeah, that's one of my notoriously long answers for a very short question.
Well, it's a big question. You don't just say it's not one you can just answer yes, no.
Yeah.
Marshall, what is it that you use for digital? You're using
right now I'm using Clip Studio Paint. Sometimes
Photoshop. The tool though. What do you? Are you got a tablet or you got?
Oh yeah, I got a Galman P something or other.
So that's like that's like a tablet for us traditional people.
It's a screen tablet, kind of like
Cintiq.
Yeah.
Because I've been you got it not too long ago. I've been watching your progress, and you're doing some really really nice stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely making it a lot easier to do coloring and finishing up, what I do traditionally in inks and stuff. I'm noticing that I feel like I probably get the best results when I ink traditionally and bring it in and then color and clean it up that way, as opposed to actually drawing and doing everything digitally. Although I don't know, I'm also new to it, so that might just be why. So
I would say. This is personally, man, because I've been on a giant Cintiq for my comics for a long time now, and using the same software. It's like once you've spent a little more time in there, like there's things, if you take a little time here and there to explore that software, God, maybe I should send you these. I have a whole bank of pen settings that I've made. That like I've sat and kind of compared, like sit there with a crow quill next to me because I like inking with quills. I'll sit there with a crow quill, kind of feel, like draw a line on a board, and then go grab my pen and draw it on my Cintiq and go, okay, how much do I need to adjust the sensitivity? What do I need to do? And I've got a whole big bank of these things that I've done like that. It's like, okay, this emulates basically, my favorite quill. This is more like this type of brush, things like that. And it's really worth the time. If the device you're drawing on, because if it's not a Wacom, I don't know if it works the same, but I imagine it's similar. But I know the software has the capability for you to sit there and tweak stuff out And that's something I would really suggest doing, is like sit there with your traditional materials next to it and compare. Because once you get those digital tools to feel similar to the traditional, oh my God. At that point, there are actually advantages to the digital side. At that point, you'll be maximizing the things that feel traditional while also maximizing the things that are digital. And oh, dude, then it's just like the gloves come off, man, and you can swing really wild, and it's great.
Nice. That's good to know.
Yeah, I dig that stuff.
I was going to ask a stupid basic question, and everything depends on exactly what you're doing and how detailed and extreme design goes. But what is a basic design for you? Like, how long does it take to whip up like a monster design in ZBrush or whatever you use? Less.
It varies quite a bit. Like right here, I'm swinging wild on this thing, and it may end up being something that I end up scrapping. I don't know, but I really dig this head form that I worked up, so I'll probably keep it for something. It varies quite a bit. God, the actual, what's funny is like the fun part goes by really fast. The fun part that I'm doing right here is over so fast, and it's so sad. You're like, yay, that was great. Now I have to get it all to work. So yeah. So the technical side of it ends up taking probably twice as long as the fun artistic side. Of course, it comes back around, because in the end, once you get the technical side done, then you've got it where you can pose it and render it and do all this cool stuff, and then you get to have fun with it again. So, but as far as time frame goes, it varies so wildly that it's hard to say. If I'm actually working from concept art that someone like a client provides, then it'll go fast. It'll go crazy fast. If a client comes to me and says, yeah, we need a creature for X, Y, or Z, and they've just got some notes, that's going to be a slow, painful process usually, because they don't know what they want until they see it. And I got to start showing them stuff. So yeah, it really is very similar. I mean, I know Pete, I know you've worked with, as an artist for, God, longer than I have, probably. I think you've been out longer than I have.
Since 91, 27 years.
Yeah. So you got a couple years on me. So yeah, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to like, clients and the back and forth and all that kind of stuff. So if that enters into things, then it's anybody's guess. But as far as the actual production, like something like this, I'll probably sit here and I'd say by the time I hop off of this stream with you guys, I'll have most of a concept together for this creature. Like I said, I'm just kind of swinging wild anyway. Well, I shouldn't say I'm not completely swinging wild. I doodled something in a sketchbook the other day. It was kind of on my mind, so this is kind of in the ballpark of something I've already sketched. But so I don't know, probably a day for me at this point. Take about a day to do the sculpting. And then data sculpt, data texture. I don't know, like a good quality creature setup like this thing, when it's all done, probably take about a week to get it all done, and at the point where I'm rendering promo artwork that'll go out into a store and help generate money with it. So yeah, about a week.
But then once you have that like all set, you can tweak it and make like an army of different forms.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, like let's see, I've got this over in here, so I don't really need her like this anymore. I'll show you a recent. Actually, this series just dropped. I'm selling this series at a place called Renderosity, and let's see, are these all in here? Okay, cool. And if you follow me on Facebook, you've probably seen some posts about this. There's this series called Glissandi. It's just an alien concept I came up with. And like, let's take, let's throw a copy of her out here. So like here's, this is what it looks like here in the software. It shows up in this library. So I'm going to load this up. And I include some little bells and whistles with my stuff. Like, let's go ahead and do the clothing on here just so we keep this as, as there we go. Well, I mean, the figures are nude, so there's that. Yeah. So like this is actually a really unique piece because like all those tentacles and stuff, that entire head is grafted on. Like if I go here, you'll see that I've actually kicked out the geometry for the entire human head and pulled some crazy stuff here to make it all blend in. But if I wanted, I could like. This is when I kick that out. This is what the human head has become underneath it. So you've got. Let's bring it back because I like it better with her little thingies there. So
nice mouth.
And then there's other stuff on there, like. One of the reasons I built this the way that I did is so that it could actually inherit facial expressions and things from the figure underneath it, rather than me having to build a ton of them. So, like, and so what's funny too is like even for myself now, like on comics, I'll do. A lot of times I will do my concepts like an Apocalypse Girl. I'll concept things out in 3D and a lot of times even build it to a certain point like this, like get it built where I can use it in the software and use it as reference, like just straight up pose it on the screen and use it to look at. I don't trace it. I still want my stuff to be very traditional when it hits a page, but but still, it's kind of like having a posable maquette, and it's really, really handy for that sort of thing. So like,
let me ask you something quick. Karen from D100s, she's been using like what is it, Google SketchUp for environment. Like I guess it's inside her spaceship. She's been developing like this sort of mall area, and I don't know. Have you ever used Google SketchUp?
I've messed with it a little bit here and there.
Is there something better to create environments like, you're not being nitpicky. You're not going to use it like for any final work, but you sort of designing it so you can see how certain angles or certain things look?
It's I've been using a lot of the higher end 3D stuff for so long that I never really looked into SketchUp. I hear a lot of good things, and I know a lot of folks in comics use the snot out of it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm imagining it's probably for what you're going to be looking for, probably about the best. But then it's hard for me to say because I know there's a ton of 3D software out there and stuff that can really be helpful with that sort of thing.
Right. No, I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's really hard for me to say. I mean, I spend the vast majority of my time inside ZBrush, so I'm like I'll use it for. Dude, it's crazy the amount of stuff I'll use it for. Like, it's not just for character sculpting. Like, I'll use it for modeling environments and scenes. And that is something that I do quite a bit too. Like in Apocalypse Girl, I will model rooms and stuff that, and then I'll use those. I'll have a reference for those, or I'll use them various ways because then I keep consistency in my backgrounds. And I like really defined backgrounds.
Yeah. Have you used it for vehicles, for Apocalypse Girl and stuff like that?
For what?
for vehicles like cars and
yes, and that's one of the few places where I've actually just used it straight, like position stuff and brought it in. And it's funny, like there's in Apocalypse Girl #1, there's a scene where she's walking down a deserted road and gets attacked by these 4 guys on 4-wheelers, on ATVs, and I'm like there's a level of detail that I wanted and everything that is very, like, I'm a huge, I cannot express how huge of a fan I am of Bernie Wrightson. Right. And if you look at my inks on Apocalypse Girl, you can see there's a lot of Bernie Wrightson influence. And it was an outdoor scene, so I was having fun inking all this stuff, but I wanted these vehicles, these ATVs, to be correct. And I was super anal about it. I just kept drawing them and drawing them. I'm like, screw it, I'm going to model it. So I modeled one and worked up a means of rendering it so that I could render it and get it into those scenes and then merge it in. It was called Manga Studio, now it's Clip Studio Paint, but at the time it was Manga Studio still. I could merge it into my scenes there and pull some nifty tricks with it. So it's one of the few times I've had people ask me, like people who know that I do 3D will look at my comics and say, they're like, well, how much of this is, they'll say real. How much of this is real? How much is 3D? I'm like, well, it's all real because I made all of it, asshole. But I'm like, there you go. There's the answer to that question, jerk. But no, they'll say, how much of it's real and how much of it's 3D? And I'm like, well, you tell me what you think is 3D, and you tell me what you think is traditional. And they're like, oh, well, I can't tell them. Well, there's the answer to your question. It doesn't matter, Yeah. So, but if I ask that now, people are going to hear this and they're going to be like, well, your ATVs are 3D. And you're like, yeah, you listened to the stream, didn't you? So, but yeah, I use those that way, and it's, I don't know, man. It's funny because like Brian Haberlin, who I've worked with on some stuff, is real big on using a full 3D pipeline for his comic work. And there's like some, I don't know. I've thought about that a lot. How far should I merge those things together? Even thought about like trying to teach people how to do that. I don't know. Like I don't know.
Yeah, it's like when 2D animation started getting 3D elements in it, and it's like, oh, some of that is nifty, and some of that looks totally bizarre. And
yeah, and I've seen 3D used in comics a number of times, and it just looked like ass, just hot, stinky ass. It's just horrible. I'm like, please stop. It's like you're doing neither the traditional comic artist nor the 3D artist any favors here. Please make it go away.
Well, one thing I think with that whole idea is like, I think it's like the time, like I feel like maybe the theory going into it, for especially for somebody inexperienced, would be, okay, well, this is going to save me some time. But I know of at least one person who tried it who, I don't know how experienced he was with it, but it seemed to me like in the end, and he was mostly using it for reference. In the end, it seemed like it was taking more time than it would have if he just drew it. So
it really can. It
like,
really
what's your
can.
workflow,
Yeah, the only time I would suggest anyone using 3D in a comic is if they have a very specific look that they can only really get through 3D, then that's totally valid. Or B, if they're going to use it to expedite production elements that are going to be very repetitious and need to be highly detailed. Right. Like if I were going to do a big sci-fi comic, I would love to work on a Warhammer comic someday. I love Warhammer. I love all that kind of stuff. And or if I were going to do something like Aliens, if Dark Horse called and said, we want you to do a Predator and Aliens comic, and there's like tons of ships in it, right. or even just one consistent set of shit, like it's going to take place on a ship, right? First thing I'm going to do is, as soon as I've gotten some concept sketches, they say, yeah, we like the look of that for the ship, then I'm going to model that thing. because I'm never going to draw that background again. Not in a million years. I'm gonna model it. I'm gonna drop cameras in it. I'm gonna shoot that thing from certain ways, and then I'm gonna ink over those. I'm gonna do traditional inks over screen caps of that background. And to me, it's like an outgrowth of like if you were going to work on a comic book adaptation of a movie and you had the blessing of being able to be on set and you could snap photos and get them, or you could just, pull things from it that you were going to use as reference. There you go. To me, it's the same thing. The only difference is that, it's all digital. So,
yeah.
And in a situation like that with, those kind of environments and things, that would be exactly the right time to use it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I can tell when somebody's using it and they're just using it to save time, but they're not putting in the time.
Yeah.
And it just looks sloppy.
Yeah.
And I could see somebody, who's like spends a lot of time on it and really sets it up and almost,
Actually,
Go
Peter, I was going to say, like, you and I actually have a mutual friend who worked a lot in 3D stuff. He still does for his comic when he was doing Pandia, Paul Kajazi, and
I know
he really he would build it seemed like mostly he was using it for, he had like a specific bar room that he knew a lot of different scenes were going to take place in. He had a couple ships and stuff that he knew he was going to put in a lot of places, and he had a certain, I think he uses Blender, but he had a certain way of kind of working with the black lines that were rendered out that actually kind of made them look traditional still.
Yeah, there's
really
some techniques for that. Yeah, there's a number of techniques and different types of render engines and things that are available that can really assist with a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking of Paul the whole time. Yeah, I mean, he's gotten better and better, and now he's doing home based, which I believe is probably using Blender or some sort.
Blender is such a game changer, man. Like I don't really use it a whole lot, but to have the amount of power that it has for free is craziness.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a big community around it from what I hear that you can learn a lot from too. So
yeah, the Blender community is really pretty solid, and that's something to be really appreciated.
Yeah. So I invited some other people. I don't know if they're going to show up or whatever. I guess we've been going.
Hey, man. How's it going? Can you hear me?
Speaking of which. Hey, Chris.
Hey, what's up, Peter?
How you doing?
Marshall. Hey, what's up, Marshall?
Hello. You missed the intros.
We could do a special intro for Chris.
Yeah, who else we got here?
We got Marshall and Les.
I'm Les.
Hey, Les, how are you?
Hey, good. Sitting here goofing with 3D stuff. We were just talking about some of this stuff in the context of comics.
I actually was watching you guys for a little bit earlier. I wasn't quite ready to jump in, but got my energy drink, and now I'm ready to go.
Great.
Cool. You want to do it yourself and give us a couple of links of where people could find you, and then we'll jump back into conversation here. Chris?
Oh, yeah. My name is Chris. I'm on YouTube as Comics with Chris. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter, Comics with Chris. It's pretty easy to find me. I'm taking the 100 Days of Making Comics Challenge along with Peter, as well as many others in the group. And right now I'm just kind of working on sort of a cover page of my comic at this moment.
Cool.
Yeah, that's me.
Well, I like the design of your character.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Oh yeah, that's the one for the Day of the Dead, right? I didn't see that yet.
Yeah, he's I've kind of went back and forth with his whole name. Like I've been basically creating this since day one of the 100 Days Challenge, and I finally came up with a decent concept for the name and the character and things like that. So the name of the comic is actually I'm gonna call it Warrior of the Dead, and it actually has a lot less to do with the Day of the Dead. As far as the celebration and things like that, it has more or less to do with the Aztec, the history of the Aztecs and the way they grew up as a warrior clan, and more on the supernatural side of the gods and stuff of it. But the main first arc is going to be more or less good guy versus bad guy type of storyline. So, but you know, as far as the powers for my character, it's going to be some interesting supernatural stuff I kind of threw in there. So,
sounds cool.
Yeah,
that does sound cool.
Thank you.
For anybody who doesn't know, I recently did an interview on Chris's channel. You should go check it out, give it a thumbs up, give him some love, subscribe to his channel.
Thanks, Peter.
I mean, you got 6 times as many viewers as I do, but
No, I mean, yeah, it you know, it's weird the way YouTube works. Like, I think I check the analytics of my channel, and it's interesting. Like, there's certain types of videos that I make where most of the views will come from people that aren't subscribed to my channel. But when it comes to things like interviews and tutorials, most of my subscribers will watch those videos. So it's just so weird, and it's yeah. But I mean, but they may not even get that many views. But the interviews, the long format stuff, I can only assume it's like the more dedicated subscribers that will watch almost everything. Because you have those, and then you have the casual watchers. They'll subscribe, but you know, they'll only watch, you know, the things that really, really interest them. So I don't know. It's kind of weird. Sometimes it's hit or miss.
yeah. Well, it's like you could have a favorite show on. You know, it doesn't mean you're going to watch it. You know, it's just one of your favorite TV shows. You're going to watch other shows. You know.
Yeah.
And it's like when you watch it, how focused you are on it. You know, it's like I turn on a TV and I clean the house. You know, it's other times I'm like glued to the TV. So even if you get like 1,000 views, it doesn't mean you get 1,000 people glued to it.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Like,
but I wanted to mention Marshall did an interview just before me on your channel too. So
sorry about that.
People can go check out Marshall's interview, because Marshall's an interesting dude.
Yes.
All right.
I agree. And I actually interviewed Marshall.
Yeah, that's what he's saying, man.
It's all come full circle here.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys, I'm gonna have to step out and hop off this thing for a bit. But it was really cool meeting you guys.
All right, man.
Glad to see you're doing these again. I know you weren't doing them for a while.
Thanks, Les.
So good talking to you guys. Y'all have fun. I'll watch the rest of it later.
Okay, cool, man.
Later, man.
All right,
Cool, man.
later, guys.
Bye.
Take it easy. I'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
Oh, and I'll actually just to let you guys know, I've actually will be talking to Gazbot either Monday, Tuesday, or at the very latest Thursday. But I haven't had a chance to really look at my own schedule and time zone stuff. But I'll probably be talking to guys about it pretty soon.
Yeah, he's West Coast, so.
West Side.
So how's the comic coming along, Chris? Where are you at with it these days?
Oh, it's cool, man. So I'm really happy about. So this is the way I'm doing it, and I actually came up with this idea. I was considering it and until after I talked to you, because I remember we were talking about the challenge, which made me think a lot about how many pages I want to do, what where I want to set my sights on as far as the production style of my own process of making the actual comic. So what I've decided to do is to try and get to at least 22 pages of writing, 22 pages of thumbnails, and then begin on the art, and then do them. And I remember, the whole goal is to create at least enough content for one floppy comic, and then do a Kickstarter if I build enough of an audience for it. But the thing is, I don't want to. At the end of the day, I actually really want to do sort of a Jason Brubaker thing, where you create enough content for an actual book. But I don't want to do like a coffee table comic book. He's got a little bit of a fancier book, and I've got a couple of his Sithra books. But yeah, I want it to be a little more basic and just kind of get the word out there. But I want to start off with a floppy, and the reason for that is because and this goes back to our conversation, Marshall, when we're talking about the 30 days of making comics, where the minimum is 30 days, right? And if you set a goal to work like 4 or 5 hours and then you don't do it, then you automatically say you fail. And this is where I think my logic or my willpower, or whatever you want to call it, my mental energy kind of drained me on the first several attempts, because I felt like I was trying to build a million followers on YouTube. I was trying to get my million email subscriber list. I was trying to make 10,000 a month on merchandise sales. And then, I wanted to also make a comic. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm over here setting huge goals on things when I haven't even really started my comic. And I also wanted to create volume 1 of whatever my superhero comic idea was at the moment, which was some more of a fantasy style comic that I was thinking about doing. And then I realized, well, let's start with the very basics. Let me at least finish, the amount of content that would fit in a 22-page comic. If I can do that, that's an achievement, at least from my perspective. And I was like, okay, I think it should be doable. It's not impossible. It's not too difficult. I won't stress out that I'm not on schedule. It's like, I think it's doable, at least within the time that I have. And I'm not setting like a strict time limit, as far as it has to be done within 1 month or 2 months. It's more or less, this is the goal, and I'm going to keep moving towards it, and using the 30 minutes a day, and I've been doing, for the past probably 10 days, I've been only doing 30 minutes because I don't know what it is, but the past maybe week and a half, 2 weeks, for some reason, I haven't been able to get up as early as I used to. Right. But I've still put in those 30 minutes, and I keep moving forward, inching more and more closer towards where I want to be each time. So it's really worked out a lot. So. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm sorry, that's a very long-winded way to say where I'm at, isn't it?
No, it's good.
It's all.
No, yeah, it's good to hear the progress, and the thing where you're only doing 30 minutes some days. This I can tell you right now. I have the thing up. Let's see. Monday I did 40 minutes. Tuesday I did an hour and 30 minutes, but that was because I specifically had a chance to do that. Wednesday, I didn't do it all. I give myself one day off if I need it. I don't like to take it, but one day a week off if I need it. Thursday was 40. Friday was 35. Today I'm getting a ton of time in, obviously, because it's the weekend. But I mean, a lot of these days, like, I do only get 30 minutes in, but doesn't it like feel so good, like to be like, I at least did something towards my comic today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most definitely. You know, I'm not, in my days, it's like, when did I start? I even forget now. Like September 6th. You know, it's like, I consider the actual days are the days I do videos, but every day since the 6th, I've been putting at least 30 minutes in. And mostly that's what I've been doing. I it's like my schedule is so all over the place. But you know, I wanna get to a point, or maybe do a week like, you know, Gaz does a beast mode week. You know, where I could sit down and like work an 8-hour day on the comic. Whether I, you know, live stream the whole thing or not, I could show off what I did in those 8 hours. But yeah, it's like I'm lucky if I can consistently do 30 minutes a day and the video for a week straight at this point. But you know, whatever you put in, it moves it forward. And you know, it's like, hey, this is more work than I put in these books before when they were sitting on my shelf collecting dust.
Yeah. About the work you're doing, what are you working on, man?
I'm working on retro.
Sweet. Your video is all pixely to me, but that might just be me. The hangouts are always different than the actual YouTube video.
Yeah. Well, it's like, even though I got a newer camera than I had before, webcam, I still have to get a better one, most definitely. And because it's half the reason why my picture isn't perfect, the other half is that, you know, the computer I'm working on is really not the best. I'm hoping to get my old computer working again. Basically, I need a hard drive and deal with some issues regarding it. But in the future, you know, hopefully next month, I'll start working on my inking gigs, and I might have a writing gig coming up, maybe, possibly. And I'm going to throw a lot of money at what I need to update.
Yeah.
So that, you know, it's like, yeah, it's like the picture's the wrong way and everything's wrong about the setup. But yeah, you're right. You know, like the hangouts aren't as clean looking as, you know, if you just make a video, if you film it and upload it, looks much better.
I'm just saying, like, it might look good on the actual YouTube video, but I can't really tell because my computer is stupid slow, and so yeah. But I have noticed that sometimes it just looks better on the actual video than it does in the actual Hangouts. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of that is just YouTube's like processes the video afterwards, so it cleans it up a little bit.
Yeah, I remember Peter, when we were talking, it did look a little bit blurry, but when I went back and kind of because I like to go back and check to see, you know, the video and how it looks, so I can see what you know, our viewers see, and it's like, it seemed to have come out a lot clearer than it did in the Hangout, at least for me on my channel, when after I uploaded, or after I let the video kind of you know, I don't know how to call it. After it stayed on YouTube, I guess, after we did the live stream.
Right. Yeah, you know, it's YouTube's process of whatever they have to do to wherever it goes in space and time. I don't know.
Yeah, it
YouTube.
Yeah, the mysteries of YouTube. Yeah, I know some technology stuff, and I can't. I just woke up and jumped into the stream with the energy drinks, so my brain isn't the rust hasn't shaken off just quite yet. It's a sort of a rendering process.
Rendering.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. And let me finish my energy drink, and probably the rest of the tech knowledge will come back into my head.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, it's like I don't know how a TV works, but I watch it. You know, it's like
yeah, that's true. Yeah, all right.
Make comics.
Yeah. Well, I just play the TV while I'm working.
Yeah, no, I watch way too much TV.
I just finished watching Legion, which is Marvel's. He was originally, I guess, a New Mutant, so one of the X-Men.
Oh yeah, that is so good, dude. Peter, I've noticed the post, and I really wanted to reply, but I just didn't have enough time to tell you all the things I want to say, because it looks like we watch pretty much the same shows. Like Legion, I if I remember correctly, you're like, wow, it's good, but some of it is kind of confusing and weird, but it was good.
It's so layered, and I mean, you could really it's a brain F. I mean, it's really like it deals with time travel in a sense, and like the question of who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, mental illness. I mean, it's so layered. And at the end of the second season, I'm like, okay, I have no idea like where this is going, and if he's actually this or that, or I mean, I love it, but my brain was hurting bad as I watched it.
Yeah, like there's like at least 2 episodes where I had to rewatch twice to make sure I understood what I was watching, because they have certain episodes where they don't quite tell you that a character would be like I guess in the comics they call it the astral plane, but then it would be back in time in the astral plane in the mind of a person in what their vision of the world looks like, and then it's like, wait a minute, what? It's like Inception times 10. If anyone's ever watched the movie Inception, it's like, well, wait, where are they? Wait, who's the bad guy? God damn it, who is it?
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, and then it's really cool though to see like the powers, and I actually had to go. It forced me to go on Google and kind of. I remember Legion, but I don't remember the comics and the stories. I remember the character, but not all the stories. So I had to go back and research it. And I was like, oh, okay, I remember. He's like the son of Xavier and a scientist. Yeah. I'm not sure if I can't remember if they did it exactly the same way as far as who his parents were, or if they even revealed that in the movie. Oh my gosh, spoilers. Yeah. I hope I didn't spoil it. I don't remember. So hopefully I did.
I don't think like if you go and watch it right now and you don't know any of this, I don't think it will give you great insight per se. But
that's true.
And I'm not sure if this particular story was anywhere near in the comic. This is like taking the character and sort of developing him before our eyes. I get the feeling, like, I could be wrong, but it is artistically, I love the show. I mean, it's just so inventive and fun. But story-wise, man, it just blows my mind. Most of the episodes blow my mind in many ways, and it's like, you know, they introduce concepts and then bend them in so many directions, and it's like you just left like, I don't know. You know.
Yeah. So this is kind of the general idea, at least what I get, and I don't think this is a spoiler because the movies, like you said, it's kind of confusing. So I believe the bad guy, and I could be totally missing it. I'm sure there's a lot smarter people who can, describe what the story's about way better than I can. But I believe it's the bad guy is the Night. What is it? Night King or Night something? So he's like another guy with
Shadow?
Night. Yeah.
Shadow King?
Shadow King. Okay, that's it. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. Yeah, Shadow King. So somehow Shadow King attached himself to Legion when he was young, but didn't have enough power to really do any damage. And as Legion got older and got more powerful, Shadow King was able to absorb some of his power and become stronger. And that's when he I don't know if he no, this is the part where it gets confusing to me, like where he somehow left Legion's brain and went out into the real world and started messing with people. And but I the way I take it is like that's the bad guy, but the whole stuff in between, like I get confused as to who does what and who's where the direction. I have no clue where the direction of the story is going, but it is really, like you said, the special effects and things like that are really, really interesting.
Yeah,
Really
it's like,
cool.
you know.
So is it a good show? Because you guys seem to be more confused about it than actually. Like, do you like it? I don't know. Like,
I'll say it's a good show. I'll say
it's a great show. The fact that I'm confused is like, I don't expect that they'll explain everything, but I expect that by the end of the story, if we're lucky enough to get there, we'll have a decently clear idea of some of the main things that went down.
so what you're saying is it's the Marvel version of Lost.
Yeah.
In many ways, yeah. But it's just the direction of it and the story ideas and a lot of it. It's an inventive show, so that plays a factor in the sort of confusion part as well. But it's definitely worth seeing, and if you want to discuss it with me once you've seen it, please message me on Facebook.
Yeah. It's like I don't know. I liked it, and I want to keep watching it to see where it goes, and maybe I can. It makes you really want to, at least for me, it makes me really want to understand where they're going with the storyline and the character, and hopefully there'll be a little bit more clarity on what's going on. They do have some weird they do have some weird scenes where they'll start dancing and singing, and it's like, what? Like it's like they'll throw in a what do they call it, a Broadway show, like right in the middle of an episode out of nowhere, and it's like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
It seems like every show these days have at least one musical episode.
Yeah.
It's not so much a musical episode as it is a way to tell a part of the story. Like, you know.
Yeah, it's the way they do it. It's more like it's a part of it. At least the episode that I remember, it was where they were inside somebody's brain, and I think the Shadow King was messing with somebody, and it was actually made sense in at least in the episode that I remember watching, because it was a part of this. It made sense within the story, and it wasn't like in the real world, if that makes sense. They were on the astral plane or whatever in somebody's brain, and then people were dancing and singing and stuff. So it wasn't like some of the other shows where they're in real life. They're, you know, the dramatic scene is happening, then out of nowhere, boom, they bust out with a musical. Like it was a little bit different in this context.
Yeah, because, you know, it's like it becomes clear later what was going on, and it clearly points out that that was something other than what you thought it was at the time.
Yeah, there's a lot of episodes like that where it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because it makes you question your, you know, like if you're a good person or not, or if you're mentally ill or not. Just watching it.
There's a lot of shows like that, actually. It seems to be a pretty prominent theme. And
yeah, I mean, you know, it's like I remember watching, I guess it was Gone Girl, that Ben Affleck movie. And I remember thinking, like, you know, is every movie now much more like it seemed to really like more psychologically bent than you know, movies previously, or like or was that always around and I wasn't as aware of it or something, you know?
Yeah, there's a couple old ones that deal with some weird psychological stuff. I mean, you gotta dig for the old ones, but it seems like there probably is a lot more coming out lately.
Yeah,
it's all kind of an evolution. Like there's trends and stuff, and you know, like I mean, obviously they did play around with that stuff. I mean, you could even go back to like, you know, Alfred Hitchcock and Twilight Zone stuff, and you know, they messed with it a little bit, but they probably didn't go quite as deep as now they're going with some stuff, or maybe not as deep, but as like
dark,
like subtle and nuanced, like you know, they might have an episode or a movie about that, whereas now we have multiple shows like Dexter or something that really just get into like the mind of like a crazy person who's, you know, doing crazy things, you know.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. Yeah. So how about that next new season of Daredevil? You excited for that, Peter?
I am definitely excited for that. Comes out Friday. Yeah, next Friday. This coming up Friday, however you want to say it. Yeah, it's like I thought like this is the third season of Daredevil, because that was like Daredevil was the first one out. But like I thought the second season of like the other shows, you know, they had great moments, they had good moments, whatever. But I thought, you know, overall they were okay. But Daredevil, you know, first and second season, they have it's like that's where they're putting most of their energy, it seems. And I like, you know, I like everybody involved with Daredevil and everything that's spun off of Daredevil. You know, which is like the Punisher.
Oh yeah. Oh man, I can't wait for the Punisher was one of my favorite characters growing up. So yeah, I can't wait to see what's his name? John Berthenol. I can't pronounce his last name.
Yeah, something to that effect.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I loved him in Walking Dead, and him as the Punisher is perfect. He's definitely got the face for it. But you know, I grew up on Punisher too, but it was in cases like, you know, in his appearances with Spider-Man, in his appearances with Daredevil, where his kind of a character were most effective. You know, and I almost never thought the series got him right. Like, you know, whatever Punisher series was out at the time. But regardless, you know, I'm not sure if Punisher makes an appearance in season 3 of Daredevil, but you know, we all know by now Kingpin's going to be in it. And yeah, it's going to be so good. I mean, yeah, you know, this is sort of the storyline of avid Daredevil readers are probably been waiting for.
Yeah, I'm really excited because I loved when the first season came out. I was like, this better not be like Ben Affleck in that movie. I was like, this better not be. I was like, I was gonna be so angry. And usually I'm not that big of a critic. As long as I see superheroes on the big screen, I'm typically like, okay, well, it was all right. And then, you know, I'll look at other reviews and it's like, this movie was garbage. And I'm like, well, it wasn't that bad. Come on, man. And no, but Daredevil, like it used some elements of like, because I really like old school, like not just old school, but even more modern kung fu and martial arts movies. Like I watch a lot of that stuff, and they almost did a similar scene from this one called Old Boy, where this character, and I'm talking about Old Boy, where he walks down a long hallway and it's just him versus like 50 guys running at him like 2 at a time, and all he has is like an axe and his fists, and he's like chopping people up, kicking the mess out of them, and he takes a few good licks. Some guy hits him on the back with a board, and then he just martial arts the mess out of him. I don't even know what kind of martial arts style he was using, but like he just beats the crap out of every single dude, and then like he picks up their weapons and beats them with it, and then like at the very end of this very long hallway, like he just like kicks open a door. He's all half beat up, but he just like beat the crap out of like 60 dudes on his own, and it was like, dang, that was really cool. I mean, totally unbelievable, but really cool. And I think there's a scene, and I don't remember exactly which one, where Daredevil did something similar to that. I think it was I want to say it was in season 1, but you know, I've watched, you know, everything from season 1 to season 2. So I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know for sure there's a scene very similar to that. And I was like, oh, this is so awesome. Daredevil's just being like the martial arts type of superhero that I would have really considered him to be, or the way I saw him in the comics. So that really worked well for me.
Yeah, well, you know, knowing that, like, you know, they got a budget, but it's not a huge like movie budget, and you know, that's why like we get hallway scenes instead of like outdoor scenery kind of things going on, as far as focusing on fights and whatnot. But definitely, like, you know, Old Boy is an example of when I'm talking about like sort of, there's a very heavy psychological twist to that movie that's very dark.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Man. I'm surprised.
Like, you know,
you've seen Old Boy?
Yeah, I've seen both the original and
the Americanized.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one. I was really afraid it wasn't going to be that good. Was it? Did you?
I liked it. Yeah, because that was Thanos was in there.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I totally forgot that he was the main character. Okay, I gotta watch it then.
Yeah. Not to say that every movie he's done was good, you know, Jonah Hex. But
oh, I saw that.
Yeah, I thought it was okay, but it was so far from the character that it was like, yeah, whatever. You know. Yeah, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to Daredevil. I mean, Charlie Cox is a really good Daredevil, really good Matt. Obviously, Kingpin is what's his name? Janafro. Anyway,
yeah, I follow him on Twitter too. I like that guy. He's pretty.
He is a brilliant actor, and
he had a role. He was in Game of Thrones. I forget which character he played though. I know he's in Game of Thrones.
I completely missed that.
Yeah, he was in Game of Thrones.
I had no idea. I gotta go look that up. But yeah, he's a really good actor, and he's brilliant as Kingpin. Even like secondary characters, like Karen Page isn't exactly Karen Page from the comic, but she still kind of sort of plays a similar role. Foggy is definitely Foggy from the comic, and the actor is brilliant.
Yeah,
you know, he looks pretty much how I would imagine him. And yeah, I mean, you know, I'm not going to mention it here, but there's one character that's going to be in this season that I am dying to see done right, and I'm hearing good word, advanced word on everything with Daredevil, and yeah, I'm stoked. And
oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah. I'm really excited. Like they didn't show any. Okay, I'm not gonna say anything else about it. I really would like more people to kind of check out Daredevil on Netflix. It's a really good superhero series in my opinion.
Well, I think it's pretty popular, right? I mean, I remember when the other seasons came out, everybody was talking about it. I dug the first season a lot. The second season was just a little bit too much for me. I'm just personally, I mean, probably because I don't know. I'm just don't like a ton of like crazy violence. It was just a little bit too much for me on that side of things. But you know, it was good. It was well done. I'm curious to see Punisher because I've heard a lot of great things about that show, and I don't know why we haven't watched it yet, but one of these days.
I'll tell you one thing. If there are a few really violent scenes in Punisher.
Yeah, I heard it wasn't quite as crazy though. Like it was more character development than you would expect, you know.
Yeah. It definitely was. I will say that.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
I'm okay with violence as long as it's like within the context of like just really, really good story and really good character development and stuff. And I'm not saying Daredevil wasn't, but for whatever reason, and it's been a while since I've seen it, but for whatever reason, it just seemed like it was like a never-ending montage of like violence and, or maybe just sometimes a little bit just more action than needed to be. I don't really know. Like again, it's been a while since I saw it, but I remember just kind of almost getting like, okay, enough.
Yeah, I will say one thing, just to add to your point. There were probably some scenes where there's a little bit of over the top. Didn't really add anything to the story, but it's more or less for the probably for the action junkies like myself. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but I
love action, but
well, yeah, no, like the violent action. Someone getting knocked around to the point and spikes and chains and going through their arms and legs, and then they're just bleeding out on the floor. Maybe that's a bit much, and I think I know what you're talking about as far as some of this, the more probably a little bit gory for a Daredevil movie. because there was a character where that Daredevil fought where I was like, damn, they're really beating the mess out of Daredevil, and I didn't think they would show some of the more violent type of scenes in Daredevil. I was like, that's a little surprising, but I was okay with it. But it just depends on your taste and what you like.
But I expect the new season will be more of that. I heard it's a slow burn in the beginning.
Yeah.
So it'd be more like, because he's like was supposedly dead. Spoilers. At the end of Defenders.
Yeah.
So he's partially recovering, and then he meets a nun and goes through some dilemmas and whatnot. But I expect when it really gets full on Daredevil and Kingpin, that Kingpin's essentially like trying to exact his revenge on him and bring down his whole life. So I expect it will get very bloody and messy.
Peter, have you read a lot of the older Daredevil books? I've only read a few, so I'm wondering if they're staying true to like Kingpin's character. Like the stuff I've read have typically been more or less like, and I can't remember the names of the books or the arcs, but they were more like group things where it'd be like Daredevil and Punisher with Spider-Man, and then fighting Kingpin and like a couple other characters, and there wasn't a real deep plot. Like I never got a chance to read like the more deeper stuff between Daredevil and Kingpin. So I'm really wondering if they're kind of staying true to the characters in the comic.
Well, like the Daredevil run where Frank Miller took over the art, and then down the line when he was writing it, that's where they're pulling from, as well as there was a graphic novel, I believe it was Dave Mazzucchelli, called Born Again, which I believe the nun was in that book. So there might have been like a couple of spin-off stories that were. There was another like pretty large Daredevil story. I think it went back to his sort of origin. Might have Elektra in it. I forget if that was outside the normal series, and that was a like graphic novel. I forget what the name of that was. Jeremy Nadrina did the art, I believe. And it's like all this has been years and years ago, but stuff you may be reading, I don't know. Maybe they were just like recreating some of that, but adding Spider-Man to it. I'm not sure. Because Marvel does that sometimes, where they'll take a popular storyline and just put more Marvel characters in it.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah. I mean, it's pretty true to the comic, as much as a TV show can be. How it would always change his stuff and whatnot, but it's pretty true.
Okay. I mean, I like it either way. I was like, cool. I like the direction they're going. Hey, Marshall. Yeah. Are there any superhero movies or TV shows that you're really into right now? Just curious.
Trying to think. I mean, I it takes me a while before I even get to the superhero stuff sometimes. Because when I watch TV, I usually watch it with my wife, and she may or may not be interested in watching those kind of things sometimes. But We did actually catch up on a bunch of them recently. So I saw Deadpool 2. I saw what did we see? We saw the new Avengers. What else? Black Panther. We saw all those. Which, I've really liked most of what I've seen. I'll say Daredevil 2. I did not like. Like, that was pretty much a horrible movie. But
You mean
Daredevil 1 was
Deadpool?
really cool. Or I'm sorry, yeah, Deadpool, my bad. Deadpool 1 was really cool. But the second one was just, it was all over the place, and it was just, it was just kind of
Yeah.
convoluted. I don't know. I didn't really
Yeah.
like it. And then they
I like
also treated they treated Shatterstar like an idiot, which he is kind of an idiot. He's not a great character, but for some reason I don't know why I've always loved that character.
But yeah,
So
it was more or less like a big old parody. The whole Shatterstar and all those the other characters that were X Force. It
yeah.
was they never meant to really make Shatterstar a serious character in Deadpool 2, which kind of see that was the thing that bothered me. I've talked to some other geeky comic fans that watched Deadpool 2, and like it got great reviews and a lot of stuff, and I've been talked to the other geeky fans that don't really read comics, and they were like, Deadpool 2 is better than Deadpool 1. I was like, no, I liked it for what it was. To me, it was a very gory and violent superhero comedy. That's what it was to me, and I was like, if that's what it was, that's fine. But if you want to say that it had, I mean, for me to really get into a movie or a story, it has to have a little more depth. Whether, I mean, this is the way my mind works. I'll watch gory, violent, crazy, weird movies or TV shows as long as it has a good story with depth and makes me think a little. Like, that's totally fine. But Deadpool 2 had none of that. There was no real depth to the story other than um, by now everybody's watched the Deadpool 2, so I'm not even worried about spoiling it. But I mean, he just wanted to see his dead girlfriend. I mean, that was it. Outside of that, everything else was just comedy and ultra violent. So I was like, cool. Like I can be okay with ultra violent if there's, like you said before, Marshall, like if there's some context to it and maybe it adds to the story or character depth. But it was like we already know Deadpool can be violent and he's crazy and he's funny. But at the same time, I was hoping for a little bit more story and plot line, and then they had the stupid, go back in time thing. And then if you watched it, for me, once I saw the ending of the movie, what he did, I was like, oh, that was stupid. Even though the movie calls out its own stupidness with breaking the fourth wall, which made it bearable. If it wasn't Deadpool, if any other movie tried to do the same type of plot and it wasn't Deadpool, it wouldn't work and it would just be absolutely ridiculous. Even myself, who's not that much of a critic, I would have been like, this movie's garbage. Right. But for me, it is what it is. It's a violent comedy, superhero comedy. That's all it was to me. I was like, I wish there was more story to it, but it is what it is.
Well, the thing is, too, is like, this is like something that I think is interesting about Deadpool, and I say this also about Rocky, which is funny because they're totally different. But Rocky to me, like, it's such an amazing, it's like an awesome like movie. It's like a dude movie. Like every dude loves this movie. Like it's amazing. It's coming back from nothing and that kind of thing. But when it all comes down to it, Rocky is a love story. That's what it really is. I mean, he loses in the end and calls out to Adrian. Like it's more about the love actually than it is about the fighting. And you get to for your first time, or for the world's first time, see Sylvester Stallone, which was cool too. But that's the same thing with Deadpool. It's like it's a comedy, it's action, it's cool, but when it comes down to it, it's a love story. And their relationship they really developed in that movie, and it was really a fun relationship. And then for her to just like, boom, beginning of the movie, she dies. Like I was already losing it at that point. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? Like, and they just really, I mean, the character of Deadpool. I probably kept saying Daredevil, my bad, but the character I was saying of Deadpool was pretty good. Like, still even throughout the second movie was pretty good. It's just the writing or the plot and all that was just boring. It was like I think they did something really good with the first one, and then maybe they just tried too hard and they
Yeah.
just tried too many things or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's clear that they tried too hard. I would have, gotten rid of, I don't know, a couple of the story elements. I'm not sure which ones would have made it more a concise story, but it didn't work as a whole, and like the first one was solid. Like, I kind of felt like I compare the first Deadpool to, say, like the first RoboCop movie. The first RoboCop movie, from beginning to end, there's not 1 second I would have changed in that movie, and it was a perfect movie, story wise, entertaining wise, and everything about it. And the first Deadpool, I felt like everything about it was entertaining, was useful to the story, was brought us into his world, and but the second movie, yeah, it's like it goes from one thing to another, and then all of a sudden we're doing this, and then we're with this gang of people, and it's like it's like more isn't better if it's all screwy.
Yeah, that's
I mean, I was
Sorry.
entertained. I enjoyed the movie, but in the end, it could have been better, and it's pretty much clear, to most people who watch it. At least the people I talk to about it, but it's like I still want to see a third one or whatever they're going to do next, if they do something next, or if Marvel decides to scrap it all and do their own thing. But we'll see.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a little bit nuts with that. Like, I watch all the superhero movies, regardless of the critics. I like superhero movies. I love them.
Do you?
I need to catch up because I've missed the Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I'm trying to go see Venom within the next week or two.
Yeah, I haven't seen Venom yet. Definitely Ant-Man. Ant-Man was awesome. And it's kind of like how I feel about Deadpool. I feel about Ant-Man a little bit. Like the second one, I totally enjoyed it. And I want to see a third one. But I felt like they do go off a little the rails, or it's not as solid a story as the first one. But I still want to see more Ant-Man, and definitely the Wasp now. And I hope they're they are in the Avengers movie, so.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about the Captain Marvel trailer?
Oh, that looked cool. I've never even really been interested in Captain Marvel until I saw the trailer, and I was like, "Oh, this character looks really cool."
Yeah, it's like I thought the trailer was good. It's what, months before we see it next year. It's sometime next year.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we're gonna get a much bigger, better, more action-oriented trailer. It's hard to tell by a trailer. Some trailers look awesome and the movie is crap. Some trailers look like crap and the movie's awesome. But I mean, they picked a character that works for their story, but in the comic, it's the most convoluted hero origin ever. It's like she was this hero, and then she became that hero, and then, you know, she lost her powers. Then she, you know, I don't know, stood in front of Rogue and got her powers. I don't know. It's like such a, it's,
yeah.
it's,
just to add to that, Peter, like, I'm not gonna lie, like I said earlier, I think like whenever I see or learn about a new superhero movie superhero that I'd never really read, I hit up Google and I start trying to find out a little bit more. I've never had such a hard time trying to figure out the origins of a character other than you know, Captain Marvel. I was like, wait a minute, there's like 6 different. You look up images and you'll see like 6 different costumes, and then if you try to dig into Wikipedia, it'll start saying an origin story. But then you go onto like the Marvel Comics website, you might see something different. There's a newer version. And it's like, wait a minute, who is this character and what is the actual origin? And then they're doing something different. And I found out they're doing something different with the actual movie. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of gave up on trying to figure it out. I mean, the actual original character. So I was like, oh, I'll just check out the movie.
Yeah. You know, it's like I am excited for you know, I've seen the actress in a couple of things, and she, you know, I think she could do a great job. You know, her character is pivotal to what's going to happen to the Avengers. So, you know, I'm sure they're not going to slack. I'm sure it's going to be as good as a lot of the other Marvel movies. They'll make the origin work. You know, that really doesn't matter, you know, what the origin in the comic was. You know, this is the movie universe. And yeah, it's like some reviewers have you know, pretty much said like her character is like the Marvel version of Green Lantern in many ways. That's kind of true. You know, she doesn't have a power ring, but but she did fly planes and yada yada yada. But yeah, it's like I think she's going to be a critical part of the Marvel universe, at least in the short term. I don't know the plans after Avengers 4 will include a lot of the Avengers, but you know, so I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. You know, we can get to see young Nick Fury, young Bill Coulson.
Oh yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, it'd be fun. It's freaky how good they've gotten at doing younger likenesses.
Oh yeah, with the didn't they do that with Iron Man in the Last Avengers, where they did a flashback of when he was younger? I was like, wow, that was really good. Like you see bad CGI sometimes, but that was like, I was like, man, he looks like he's definitely in his 20s compared to, you know, what he looks like now.
I mean, it's like, you know, big deal. You can do dinosaurs that look realistic. There's still no example of that we can go by, you know. But to do like Robert Downey Jr. look realistic and young, and not even like, if I didn't know, I wouldn't even blink. Like, I wouldn't know. There's no way of telling, you know.
Yeah, I need to get that technology for my Match.com profile, man. That'll work. Yeah, girl, I'm 25. You know what's up. I'm single. You know what's up.
No problem with that. You're still young.
See, I fool people. If you see my face, I look like I'm in my maybe late 20s or early 30s, but I'm actually 40 years old. A 40-year-old man-child that loves comics.
No, you're still young. I'm not 40 yet, but I'm gonna be soon, and I'm still young. You have to be still young because I'm still young.
hey, man, I'll take that. I'm gonna go with what you say. I will take that. I'll take that advice. I'll take that point of view. That works for me.
So I'm the youngest guy here, so.
That's true.
There you go, man. Youngster. I need to go check. Make sure you're not using that CGI technology over there, Peter. Trying to fool us with your stories of your old PC and stuff, man.
Yeah, that's it. It's the PC makes me look older.
That's funny. I wasn't even thinking of it like that, but yeah, that's funny.
So have you with this interest in superhero movies, are you talking like specifically like Marvel, DC, maybe some of the independent superheroes, or is it any superhero type movie? Because there's a movie called Super that isn't based off of any comic book superhero, but it deals with superheroes, but it's very indie kind of movie,
I've watched a lot of indie superhero movies like Unbreakable, which I believe they're going to be doing a sequel to. I can name a few that I really liked. There's even one that really didn't involve superheroes, but it was based on an indie comic called Road to Perdition with Tom Hanks. Man, that was a really, really good story. Really, really good movie. I'd advise anybody to check it out. And it was more of a mobster-themed story, if I remember correctly. But it was and it was based off a comic. I had never heard of the comic until probably quite a bit of time passed after I watched the movie. And I didn't even know Unbreakable, the same thing with Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. I didn't know that was based off of a comic book either. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. So, yeah, Unbreakable.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't know who the creator of the comic is, but that's basically what it was based off of it. Off of a comic.
I have to look that up now because I had no clue. Because I thought that was all M. Night,
M. Night Shyamalan. Yeah.
Shyamalan.
I think he directed it, but I don't, or helped, was heavily involved in producing it, like the mess of the movie he made of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
Like, he kind of rewrote the story to fit a whole bunch of stuff in one movie, and it was horrible. Like, I'm a big fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender, but I was like, dude, this does not feel at all like the cartoon I really liked. It was horrible.
But okay, so Unbreakable was the first. Have you seen Split?
Yes.
No, I heard that's really good. I want to see it so bad.
Yeah, that's really good. And the third one is the one that comes out this year. I even forget, but that's going to be called Glass.
That's right.
So those movies are connected to each other?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I got the numbering backwards. Yeah, it is going to be a third one. I kept saying, I think I said it was going to be a part 2, but it's definitely, there's different movies that are connected to the way that they're doing it. But I'm excited to see Glass. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Characters in Split, like same actors, characters.
Yeah. Yep. So it's essentially all three of them. I mean, and going to be in Glass.
So yeah, they're going to have Bruce Willis, Samuel L. Jackson's going to come back, and that I don't know the name of the actor from Split, but he's actually going to be in it too. So
it's probably going to be what? So I'm pretty sure I remember. If I remember, Samuel L. Jackson dies in the first one, right? Can't remember. It's been a while.
I forget, but it's been so long. They may have alluded to that, but he's not dead.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be one of those things where because he was like an evil genius in that movie, so it could have been one of those things where it's like, no, I'm not really dead. I was actually in a hidden compartment or something. If there was an explosion or something, they
right.
There's always some type of weird way they kind of escape death in those situations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that Simpsons joke. I forget how it goes now, but it's something like he's in critical diagnosis, close to death, but he got better. Yeah, I don't know, something like something really silly. Like, you right?
Yeah, I've had this weird little lingering cough for quite a while. I don't know if it's
change of
season or possibly something related to my diabetes. I don't know. It could be a couple things. Because strange enough, when I did a little bit of research on how diabetes affects people, like apparently I'm more susceptible to certain types of viruses and things like that and infections. So it's like I got to be on top of every little cut and things, which, I'm not out there playing football and playing with knives and swords or anything crazy. And I take vitamins, and I've gotten to a point where I've dropped a lot of weight. So it's like I'm doing all right. So I'm still trying to figure out where this lingering cough is coming from. I may talk to a doctor fairly soon. So for now, it won't stop me from making comics unless I spit all over the page. Hopefully, that won't happen.
It's like I grew up with a mother that basically, she went through every kind of, she had diabetes and she had thyroid problems and chemical imbalance, and she was bipolar and yada yada, ulcers, and
Wow.
But she lived to 83, so God bless her. But it's like a lot of it was just like misdiagnosed medicine. Like she was taking like 40 pills a week at one point, but it wasn't until she had good days, bad days, but also like good years, bad years. But it wasn't until she was like late 70s where they actually finally nailed down what medicine she should be taking and what medicine she shouldn't be taking. That really helped, and like, because sometimes she wasn't like all there. She wasn't of her own like right mind.
Yeah.
And they finally got her dosage right and the medicine she should be taking, and then old age kicked in, so it was like that's a downer. But it's just it's you'd be surprised. There's like lots of people that deal with lots of things, and you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it in the least.
Yeah, it's rough. Like it took me a while to find a way of eating that would allow me to lose enough weight that would benefit, because basically what the doctors tell you as far as diabetes goes, is that you need to lose weight. And I wasn't like morbidly obese, but I was a little bit chubby. So I tried a few different things. I even tried to go not so much vegan, but like vegetarian for a little bit. I just like bacon too much. I don't know what to say. I failed on that, so it didn't work. But then again, like a lot of the food options are very high carb, and I would test my blood sugar, and it would be a lot higher if I ate, mostly whole grains and things like that they suggest. And then the doctor that I had, he suggested going to the American Diabetes website, and that's pretty much what his advice was, is just go to this website. He gave me no one-on-one advice. So I got a new doctor, by the way, but or at least I'm working on it. Anyway, so that's what his advice was, and I tried to follow that, and it made me feel sick. Again with the whole grains and things like that. I mean, it works for some people. For me, not so much. My blood sugar would be high again. I'd feel sick again, and I would have to like basically collapse when my blood sugar is too high. Right. I would like I can't come home and have that healthy whole grains. It would be like whole wheat pasta and the other stuff, to regular tomato sauce, and have a little salad. But all that pasta turns into sugar. It gets into my blood, and then since my body can't handle a lot of sugar in the blood, it inflames me, and different things happen. So it didn't work for me. But that's what my doctor said to stick with. So I was like, screw you, I'm trying something else. So, a couple months later, I basically found sort of a medium that I know I could stick to long term, where I kind of skip breakfast and I eat a low carb lunch, and majority of the time a fairly low carb. I'm not really strict low carb, like on any specific. There's a couple different ways of doing low carb, some very far out there, but basically meat and vegetables at lunch, and mostly at night, but not all the time. Sometimes I'll just have a regular dinner at night, which, if I eat too many French fries, then, I kind of, again, I feel a little bit sick, and then I pass out. I try not to do that too often. But for the most part, over the past like 9 months, I've probably lost close to 50 pounds. So I'm like skinny now. It's like before I was a little bit chubby, not too big, but I'm skinny now, and I know I can sustain this long term, and it's helped my blood sugar and this and that. I was like, why don't my doctor suggest just trying a different type of diet? And then the medication he gave me is like, I asked him, is there at any point where I could lower the dosage of the medication you're giving me? And he was like, no, you're going to have to stick with it. I was like, okay. And he's like, you're going to have to come see me every 3 months. And I'm like, okay, but why? It's just something you're going to have to do. I'm thinking to myself, okay, because I've never been diagnosed with diabetes. I don't know what the procedure is. So I was like, okay, whatever. And after a couple months, I was like, okay, this doctor sucks. So I had some weird side effects, and I told him I had the weird side effects, but he didn't tell me to stop taking it. He didn't reduce my dosage. My numbers were getting better, but I didn't tell him that I was the type of diet I was doing. He didn't ask, so I didn't tell him, which bothered me, by the way. So then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to reduce. I don't like these side effects that I'm having. I'm going to reduce the medication on my own. So I'd grab a pill, cut it in half, and take it. And I noticed the side effects started wearing down. And I was like, okay, what's going on here? So I completely stopped taking the medication probably within the last month or two. The side effects are completely gone. I check my blood sugar levels, and they're pretty much the same whether I take the medication or not. So I'm like, why the hell was I taking this medication? Why did he have me on it? And so I'm like, okay, I completely stopped seeing that doctor, and I'm going to see a new one next month. So I'm like, I'm really jaded on what our medical professionals are telling us. It feels like that guy was trying to get me just to come in, just to get money every 3 months. I mean, there was 1 month.
Some doctors are like that. Yeah. Some doctors are like that. Yeah.
So like, it goes back to what you're saying. Is like, I'm not going to just sit there and take your advice just because you say you're a professional. I need to see proof that it works. And if if I need to test myself and you're not going to, use any scientific evidence to actually, prove to me that this works, and then I'm not going to believe you. I don't care how many degrees you have. If you're like, this works, it works for everybody. This is what all the other doctors say work. Well, shit, it doesn't work for me and it's making me sick. Screw you. I'm not going to take it. I feel a lot better right now. Yeah. So I'm going to see another doctor next month, and hopefully they're a specialist in diabetes, and that's what you call an endocrinologist. And she has this one has a very strong specialty for diabetes. So hopefully this works out. And I don't know. I still have some minor issues, which may involve like some other things and maybe not diabetes. I don't know. So I'm gonna talk to her about that. But for the most part, I'm doing a lot better. And the last time I checked, I'm actually. And mind you, I checked, I referenced some information online. So whether it's accurate or not, I'd rather check with the doctor first. But from what I saw online, everything points to that I'm actually pre-diabetic. I'm no longer an actual full-blown diabetic. So I'm like, why did my last doctor tell me that when my numbers were good?
Well, there's a lot of diseases that are that are labeled incurable. Diabetes, I think, is one of them as well.
Yeah.
And it's just not the case. Like, incurable by medicine, sure, yeah, because medicine isn't the answer for everything. Doctors don't. Very rarely do doctors even mention anything about diet. Very rarely do doctors mention anything about a lot of other treatments that are not within, basically anything that's not within the realm of medicine, or kind of typical, like, if you break a bone or something, like a cast or like things like that. I mean, I've spent so much time in doctor's offices for my wife's situation, and I mean, I'm just looking for anything that can help. And I think you're on the right path as far as trying to look into different things. I think personally that this is something I want to do too, is try to go find like a good like naturopathic doctor who looks at everything, looks at the whole body, looks at all the options for treatment. And you'd be surprised, like, stuff they say is incurable is being cured by people who aren't your typical medical doctor. So I mean, when you're hurting or when you're suffering because of a certain illness, you're gonna start, once the doctors help, you're gonna start looking to other places and see, is there something else, because you don't want to hurt anymore.
Yeah, man. I may actually look into. I've been really considering what do you call it, naturopath? Yeah, I actually, even if I don't 100% agree with what they do, at the very least, it could be a sort of like a supplemental health thing. Like, because I know there's some things scientifically proven that where they do look at blood work, from my understanding. And if they could translate some of that and figure out a more natural way, and I know that's their whole deal. They want to help you in a more natural way to not put a Band-Aid with drugs and medicine. They want to help you get to the root cause of whatever the issue is. And I'm really down with that. I mean, I'm not against all medicine. I mean, antibiotics do work. Of course, you don't want to overdo it. At least that's just my point of view. But
yeah, I'm not against all medicine either. I mean, you gotta. I mean, if I get a broken arm, I'm gonna go to the doctor, and get it fixed. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why medicine is great and it's revolutionized our health, but they don't consider a lot of things that you can consider. And they say maybe that there's no science behind it, and I mean, I love science. Science is great, but science isn't everything. Like you're doing, you have all these different possible diets, and some of them aren't working for you, some of them are, and you're finding everybody's different. You know, you're finding the thing that works for you. You know, and at least you're trying. You know, to do different things.
And I will say, if your doctor tells you to go online to seek information, then he should be fired.
Yeah, man, he's already. Yeah, I told that dude. I didn't tell him, but I was like,
most doctors say, stay away from the internet for because you'll find more things wrong with you that you think you have now, and it's like because like symptoms could point to 100 different things, and if you start thinking, oh, I got cancer, I got
oh yeah,
rare disease, bone disease, I got it's like
yeah.
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
I did.
The thing with most diseases is like, if you look up the symptoms for most diseases, you're gonna find, headache, nauseous, this, that, this, and the other thing. And when you look at it, when you find out, like almost every disease has the same symptoms. So like, it's like you can say that you can kind of map your feelings onto anything.
It's like, I think I got radiation. Where did I get radiation from?
It's like, oh my God, when the hell did I get lupus? What's going on here? Yeah, no, I actually went down the rabbit hole. Yeah. Yeah, it's like,
no, you just got gas.
Yeah. Yeah, man. No, I went down the rabbit hole, and I think I did that a couple of times where I'm like, okay, wait a minute, calm down, Chris. You're not. Let's go see a doctor first. Someone that could probably test your blood work and then tell you for sure whether you have something serious. So yeah, I freaked myself out a couple of times, and after finding out I was just being silly, after going to the doctor, I was like, okay, maybe this isn't the best idea to try self-diagnose with the internet.
Yeah, my ex does that. She'll go and look stuff up, but she's had health issues all her life and whatnot. So she has a vast knowledge, more than the average person. So when she goes look up stuff, she can pretty much say, well, they're completely off the mark. That's not what I'm looking for, kind of thing. If I would to go there, it would be like, I got what? I got 3 months to live? What?
Yeah, you don't freak yourself out. I do know that I would probably believe somebody that more or less has had the same type of health issues, but I've actually joined a several diabetes groups on Facebook just to kind of see where other people stand with my health issues, and I've even posted a couple times about my own issues, and it's like, wow, even with this specific disease, like everyone's different. Like some people can eat certain foods and it doesn't bother them at all, and for me, those same exact foods would just jack me up. Like,
yeah,
I can't eat.
I kind of think it.
No, I was just gonna say. I'm sorry, Peter. We keep talking. I'll just say real quick. Like I'm Mexican and my favorite food is beans, but I can't eat like a big old bowl of beans anymore, like frijoles a la charra or what they call borracha beans, maybe. Like I used to be able to eat like a whole bowl of that with like tortillas and I'd be fine. Now if I do that, my blood sugar shoots up and I'm pissed because I like beans. Anyways, go ahead, Peter.
Yeah. But it's also like, an age factor too, and it's like you have diabetes when you're 6. Some people, some unfortunate kids, but I kind of think of it as cancer to a certain extent, not as severe. It can be in some cases, but that with different people it means something different. So I mean, that's specifically why it's you who should be going to the doctor. It's like, you know, it's the reason why, you know, oh, you got this thing going on. Let me take your pills. You know, you don't take other people's pills. You don't take other people's diagnosis when it comes to things, because your body, your you know, your levels, whatever, will be unique to yourself. So you really need to see a doctor and check everything across the board.
Yeah, for sure. Health, man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm all talking about health. we're all trying to do art, man.
Well, I guess we're going close to 2 hours at this point. So we'll probably we'll end it. You know, we talked a lot about art. We talked about other things as well. I guess you know, going forward, I would like to direct the conversation more. I just kind of freewheeled it today and guess came and went. But I was thinking other people might show, but they said might join later, but that's okay. So let's just go from left to right as I see you. We got actually, okay, Chris. Where can people find you?
My name is Chris Martinez, and you can find me on YouTube, Comics with Chris. You can just type that into the search engine on YouTube, and you'll find me. I'll be the top results. It's the same with Instagram, Comics with Chris. And you can also find me on Twitter, Comics with Chris. That's my name and logo. You'll see the big red, yellow, and you'll see the red font with a orange and yellow gradient background on all my icons. So that's how you can. That's how you know for sure you're on a Comics with Chris social media.
It reminds me of fast food every time I see it.
You want a cheeseburger every time you see my logo, huh?
I get diabetes just looking at your logo.
Oh man, that was good.
And then we have Marshall. Where can people find you, Marshall?
You can find me at donkeyjobprojects.com. And all my social media links are there. But also, and that's where you can find my YouTube too, because my YouTube name thing is weird. But then also Instagram and Twitter, I go by MarshallLee_DJP. So you can find me there.
Very, very cool. Is there anything like you want to spotlight, either of you? Like a project you want people to check out, or a book you want people to buy, or anything of that sort?
Yeah, I'm doing 365 days of making comics, and I which is just my own personal like little challenge or whatever. But with that right now, I'm working on, and this is going to be for the foreseeable future. I don't see it changing. I'm trying to make this happen for a while. I'm doing one new comic story, or I shouldn't say one new, but one small comic story every month. So that's what I'm working on right now. That last month was Darby Cufflink, Gentleman Avenger of Comics, and this month is Corncob Rob. And yeah, I don't know. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and just I have too many ideas, so I have to make my goal involve that. So if you want to check that out, again, donkeyjobprojects.com, but also patreon.com/donkeyjobprojects.
Cool. And Chris, you mentioned, you know, like interviews, like you'll have Gaz on soon. Is there anything going on right now you want to draw people's attention to?
Yeah, so there's really only two things. Number one, on my channel, when you get there, if you subscribe, I'm definitely going to be doing my best to talk to as many people that not only take the 100 Days of Making Comics challenge, but people that are involved in making comics in general. So if you subscribe, hopefully I'm constantly trying to meet and talk to new people that just make comics in general. So hopefully we can learn and grow together as far as that goes. And obviously, I'm working on my own comic. As you can see on the screen here, this is my character. His name is Phantasmo, or in Spanish, you would say Fantasmo. Yeah, you got to put that accent on there. But the name of the comic will be Warriors of the Dead. And within a few months, I will be putting this on Webtoons. So just keep an eye out for that. Other than that, the more current project is basically going to be interviewing 100 Days of Making Comics and people and comic book creators within the next few weeks.
Sweet. Very, very cool. So you know me, you know where to find me, you know what I'm up to. So just keep watching my videos. I'll give you updates on everything. Like I mentioned earlier, I guess it's officially announced. I'll be doing the Bigfoot Bill versus Detective Dead short story for the Detective Dead graphic novel. I'll be doing the inks on that over Doug Delaney or something like that. Anyway, is a penciler. Yeah, I got so many things I got my hands in. I'm hoping really to end this year strong, and finally like be a publisher. So that's where I'm working currently doing, and I'll be starting my interview series on Tuesday. Yeah, got a lot going. So, all right, everybody, thanks for watching. Please leave a comment here and let me know your thoughts. Maybe or me interview if you have it and all that jazz. And I'll see you again next week. I'm hoping to do these weekly again. It'll be different times and days because of people's schedules. But thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you for having us. Bye.
My pleasure.